Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Oh, we are in for a highly entertaining show today. Welcome to the Memorial Day weekend edition of the Rational Mail. I thought I'd have a little fun with this one today. I think you guys will like this. Seen these girls yet? Oh, nothing like red meat for the weekend, fresh off the grill. I can smell it right now. Howdy. Hey. Oh my goodness, why is Rollo not live? Well, I'll explain that to you. Ned's right outside the door. I like Saturday shows, actually. Saturdays are actually kind of fun. I'm recording this, by the way, on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And the reason for that is I have got a prior engagement that I have to attend tomorrow. The band that I play in, Trial of Ascension, we are in the process of doing mix downs and doing some stuff. And this is a kind of an opportunity this weekend for us to do some work, actually. So by the time you're watching this, I'm hard at work. So I wanted to just touch on a few things. This is going to be an entertaining. I'm going to try to play this one fast and loose today. I told you guys last Friday that I would be doing sort of a follow-up or an addendum to my to that show. Anyways, and that was the Widows and the War Brides show, and I was talking about why it is that, you know, women can move on so quickly after a breakup. And if you want to check that out, it's still actually doing pretty well. I was mildly surprised at how well that video is doing. So go and check that out. It's only like 30 minutes. So trying to keep things down to a minimum. I'll try to do the same thing here today, just to give you some quick info nuggets here. This is going to be a fun one today, though. I've got a couple of videos. If you saw the thumbnail here, I titled this Preferences or Preference and Potential, because both of these girls kind of dovetail into one another with the topic that I kind of wanted to touch upon today. And it's kind of like preferences, like what is it that women are looking for? Guys always ask this all the time. What are women looking for? That question is as old as the hills. But I think in a gynocentric social order, most guys don't realize that standards for men are something that men are not allowed to have right now. And you guys are probably listening to me going, well, what are you talking about? I have standards. Yeah, you do, but you're not allowed to have them. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have preferences. I'm sure you have fetishes. I'm sure there's things you like in women that you would filter them out for, or you would vet them for. And I've done several essays about how men do and do not vet women, and that vetting process takes place contextually, I think, depending on where that guy is at that particular time in his life. Well, the same holds true for women. And I brought this up during the War Brides episode, and I wanted to kind of touch on it a little bit here, because when we talk about alpha widows, we're talking about a woman who has sort of gone through her party phase, has gone through had her fun, right? That's the end phase, right? The epiphany phase is sort of like the end phase of the party years, or the hoe phase, if you'd like. I've heard it called that now. It's your hoe phase. But I think that what a lot of guys don't realize is how to leverage that at those particular times. So when a woman is between, say, the ages of 18 and about 28, she is at her peak of sexual selectivity. And here, I'll throw this on here really quickly again, just so you have a frame of reference here. If you look, I've made this graph way back in the day. Okay, this is from 2013, 2012 even, maybe, I think. And this was my kind of loose estimation of women's sexual value versus men's sexual value and how it proceeds over the course of, say, like 70 years. I start this at 15 years old because that's when, in high school, that's when boys start taking notice of girls and vice versa. So I'm not suggesting that, we all go back and rob the cradle. I'm just saying that that's when the sexual market value begins. And for women, it peaks right around 23 years old and then drops off precipitously right at about 30. Now, if you'll notice, there's that one little point right there between 30 for men and for women. That's the sort of the crossover point right there. If you want more information on that graph, you can find that in my first book and my second book, which is, the first one's The Rational Male, of course, which is this one right here. I'll put that up. And also Preventive Medicine, which is a timeline. It's a little bit more practical, a practical book, I think, where you can sort of use that to understand where women are going to be at and what they're going to prioritize at various stages of their maturity. And that's what we're going to kind of get into a little bit here today. If you saw yesterday's show, with respect to what was it on Troy Francis's channel, it was the Rule Zero, and one of the things that I brought up, we were talking about just be yourself for guys, and just how much of a cop out that is, and it's been around that kind of it's kind of like a dismissal. It's like, just be yourself, and the right girl will come along. Well, that's interesting because that dismissal really kind of conveniently works its way into women's timeline, and going from, say, 18 until about 28, and then at 29, 30, 31, that's when women hit the epiphany phase. And that's when suddenly being yourself seems to pay off, because you're still ignorant of the game, and you're still hoping and you're idealistic and waiting for that one perfect girl who wouldn't give you the time of day back when she was in her hoe phase and in her peak sexual selectivity years, is now suddenly interested in you. And I have answered lots of questions over the years. Actually, I can remember debating an old blogger by the name of Suzanne Walsh, and she used to get these letters from guys, or emails from guys saying, "Well, I'm the cat's meow, right? I'm hot now suddenly at 29, 30, 31 years old, because now I've gone and matured into my business, or into what it is that I want to do." And the guys are still blue pill. They're still kind of plugged in. And suddenly they find that women right around the age of 28 to 29, 30, 31, somewhere around there, find them irresistible at that time. And it's just this sort of convenient, serendipity, right? That's the time that those women that before would not have anything to do with that guy, now they suddenly think that he's a catch. He's a great catch. And there's a reason for that, and there's a reason for that convenience. Again, I'm not going to question the genuineness of that, because I'm sure that women genuinely want to get with that guy at that time. And we're going to actually see a couple of these girls right now. Now, the first one that I'm going to show you here is a hugely, and I mean that tongue in cheek, hugely overweight, hugely entitled woman who I have no idea how old she is. It's very difficult for me to sort of gauge how old morbidly obese people are. And for some, it seems like they're older. Maybe she's younger. I don't know. But you don't do yourself any favors as a result of this. Now, on Rule Zero, let me just backtrack a little bit. On Rule Zero, when we were talking about just be yourself, one of the reasons why this is such a useful disclaimer or useful dismissal is that it sounds right. It sounds like, who doesn't want to be you? Who doesn't want to be yourself? Like, who wouldn't say something like that? It's very Oprah, very Dr. Phil, very men are from Mars, women are from Venus, that kind of stuff, right? Read the tea leaves kind of stuff. It sounds like the right thing to say. And it puts hope and luck and fate in charge of your sexual strategies, your mating strategies. And it's really just a dismissal, because most people just simply don't know what to say. And women will say this, of course, because they don't want to have anything to do with you, but they don't want to crush your little feelings, right? And then when a guy says this to you, it's usually because that guy is in some way successful in the mating market, And he doesn't know why he's successful. So he just says, just be yourself. I just smile at him. I'm just me. And then the women love me, right? He doesn't know what he's talking about. She doesn't know what he's talking about. And you are left kind of like bewildered and wondering what the hell is going on. Well, the thing is that if you had any standards, if there was something that you really wanted in a woman, if there was some kind of scale, if there was some kind of vetting process, if there was some kind of laundry list of things that you could request, what would those things be? Most guys won't put any time or effort or energy into that. They're just happy to be with a girl who actually wants to be with them, is showing them signs of interest. That's why right around 30 years old, that's a very dangerous position for most guys to be in. That's right around the epiphany phase for women and right around the time where he's on his ascent into his peak sexual selectivity years. He just simply doesn't know it yet. Women on some level of consciousness understand this. Now, this overweight girl here, of course, is trying to sort of reset the game. And this is what I said yesterday on Rule Zero, is when it comes to becoming somebody new, when it comes to sort of changing your mind about yourself, there has to be some sort of goal. There has to be you want to be able to play the game better. You want to at least have some form of mastery. That's what separates sort of like the black pill, MGTOW, extreme ends of the MGTOW side of the red pill from guys who are actually out there and they want to improve and they want to find some way to, improve their mating chances, let's say, at the very least. And that's just half of it, okay? That's not your personal goals and your personal ambitions and your passions and everything else, but you have to want some sort of mastery. You have to want something that you can attain. You have to want to go out there and do it. I keep asking you guys, this is the question for 2021. What do you want? What do you want to do with your life? Once you have established that, you've got to find some way to get from point A to point B, and that requires effort. And a lot of guys don't really realize just how intense that effort has to be if you're going to find some form of mastery. So what happens is this. Now, this is something that I think is familiar to a lot of guys who have been brought up in a gynocentric social order. And what I'm saying here is that if you've been brought up as a defective girl, if you've been brought up in a female-centric way by the feminine imperative, and that's the way that you sort of think about things and the way that you approach life, then you're going to end up a lot like this girl here, a lot like this overweight girl that I'm about to show you here. Because what she's saying essentially is this, is the game should change for me. I shouldn't have to change for the game. And that's what I hear from a lot of women. And even the second girl that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute here, who wants to talk about men and their potential, what she's essentially saying is this, the game should change for me. When you can't master a game, when you can't be good at something, but you really want to be good at it, or you really want to be involved in it, or you really want to have something to show for yourself later on, you have two options. One is achieving mastery, is going forward and doing and putting in the effort, like what Rich Cooper said, do the work, right? Go in, put in the effort, put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and make it happen for yourself. So play the game better. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That's sort of mentality number one, and I really think that that's more of a masculine mentality. Number two is this, the game should change for me. I'm going to go and change the rules so that I can be good at this game. Now, I always use this as the example when I'm bringing this up, is when the WNBA first came out, and still even to this day, women had a real hard time generating an audience, generating people to put butts in the seats, right? And that translates into sort of financial, reasons, financial difficulties. And so what was happening was it wasn't a very exciting game. So you had the ladies out there playing basketball, and maybe that's what you're into, or maybe you're just it's a holdover from female college basketball, and now you're playing at a professional level. Great. The problem is it's all life below the net. Very few women had the capacity or the ability, I guess, to dunk. They couldn't get up and above the net. There are very few women who are, say, 7 feet tall. I'm not saying there aren't some tall women in the NBA. I'm sure there are. But by and large, women played below the net. And that just wasn't, that wasn't exciting. That's not what we're used to in the NBA. So there was some talk about lowering the nets. so that the ladies could slam dunk, right? So that the ladies could actually, so it was changing the game to suit the playing style or the playing abilities of those women at that time. Now, the argument, of course, is if it's not a standard size or standard height basket, is it really basketball then? Are we actually playing the game anymore, or has this become something different? And that's really where I'm going with this today, is that when women decide that they're going to be in charge of the game and in charge of the nets and the heights of the nets and how the game is going to be played and how we're all supposed to be participating in this game. And by this game, I'm saying, the mating market, the sexual marketplace. If women can change that game to better suit the vast majority of women, that's what they will do. That's why women try to gaslight you. That's why women say it's society. It's a social construction. Beauty is just a social construction. Everything is relative. Everything is subjective. It's all about the whatever society you were brought up in, and that's why you consider blonde-haired, big boob, blue-eyed, centerfold models to be arousing. And the fact of the matter is that's false. Absolutely horse crap. Okay, it is at 100% provable horse crap. And I'm using nice language here because I'm still out from 30 minutes. But we're about to see this right here. And not only are we going to see this in our overweight girl here, but we're going to be patronized for it, for not believing in it. So let me switch over to this really quickly. And here we go. Now, she's got the wild eyes. Yes. I got to switch over really quickly. Let me go back to my audio settings here so we don't get echo. There we go. And this is what I have no idea who she is. Okay. This has just been passed around the Twitter for a while. So here we go.
Hey, bestie. You're wrong. I think it's time for another adult pre-K lesson. What do you think? All right, turn your listening ears on. Zoop, catch a bubble in your mouth. Good job. Okay, here's the thing. Having a preference is something like, I'm looking for a partner who likes kayaking or wakes up early in the morning or loves pizza. But when your preferences exclude an entire group of marginalized people, that's problematic. Okay, that's not nice. That's not a preference. If you lump all fat people in one group together as though they are not very different individuals, that's fatphobic. Just like lumping all black people in one group and saying, I don't like black people is racist. And lumping all disabled people in one group and saying, I don't think people in wheelchairs are hot is ableist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
All right. As annoying as that was, when it comes to preferences, especially when it comes to the most personal preference, which is how am I going to solve my reproductive problem? Those preferences are pretty personal. You can use whatever your preference is, and there are biological preferences. And I'm not going to say that social construction or socially sort of learned preferences aren't a thing. They certainly are. I happen to like very thin women, and I think that most guys would probably agree with me. There are certain unique standards of beauty that are cross-cultural, that are multi-ethnic, that go across the globe. Okay, it's that hourglass figure, that healthy-looking, glow, right? I mean, big boobs, a physical symmetry. There's a lot of things that men, when it comes to women, find attractive or find arousing. And that's the thing that I kind of hate about this whole thing is like when you look at these stats right now and I'm not the guy who's the fat shaming guy. Okay. I remember when Roosh went on Dr. Oz and got run up the flagpole for being the quote unquote internet's most infamous fat shamer. And I laugh because I'm like, where does this go? Yeah, maybe occasionally, but anything that comes out of my mouth right now is going to sound like I'm fat shaming because the operative here, the point here is to change the game. The changing of the game is, well, it shouldn't matter if that individual is male or female. It shouldn't matter if that individual is overweight or underweight. It shouldn't matter if that person has blonde hair, black hair, brunette, redhead, whatever, tall, short, whatever. It's all the individual. And so what she's trying to sort of foist on us right now is that arousal and attraction should happen here. It should happen in the soul. It should happen in our higher order thinking of things. And the problem is that's simply not the way that we have evolved. That's not what the machine does, first off. Second of all is right now, at least in the United States, something like 73 or 75%, I know that it's gone up, percent of the population are overweight or they are obese, morbidly obese. I forget what the percentage of that. I think it might be 33% of that percentage. And so when you look at those numbers, yes, I would presume, particularly when it comes to women, because women have to be sexually selective and women are competitive in the sexual marketplace like that. But the problem now is that most women in Western culture, Western societies, Western cultures, whatever you want to call them, are overweight. And so it makes sense that if we can condition men and we can condition generations of men to believe that beauty is just a societal thing. It's just society has taught you all this, right? It's a social construct. If we can teach men that in some way, at least in theory, makes women more competitive when it comes to sexual selection. It keeps them in a permanent spot. As I said before, when I'm talking about alpha seed and beta need, when we're talking about hypergamy, since the sexual revolution, we have more or less created at least the perception, if not the actuality, of satisfying or ensuring the beta buck side of that equation, right? For when it comes to women's mating strategy, there is the hot short-term breeding potential. I need the hot physical sexual specimen as quick as I can get him. And then there's the guy who's the good dad, right? The 3 Ps, the protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Now, in a social sense, we have at least have the perception, if not the reality, of an insurance policy for women, by and large, that they can at least reproduce and they can have those things on that side. So what happens then is we're looking at the alpha seed side, and women tend to focus primarily on that. So when we see all these girls who seem like very vapid and very fickle and very duplicitous, and we see these girls on, like, say, Fresh and Fit, or we see them on Kevin Samuels, or we see all these women who have these overblown sense of ego, so overblown sense of self, certainly inflated egos, and overblown hubristic sense of entitlement for the only guy that's going to do. Now I'm going to talk about this here in a minute with the next video here, just a moment. But that sense of entitlement and that sense of I deserve the highest quality guy that I can get is almost a want for the same insurance or the same security that women have of the beta buck side of hypergamy, but for the alpha seed side. So now it's, well, men need to find me attractive at any age and at any size. That's why you see a body shaming, or a body acceptance, a body shape, body fat acceptance push for women. You don't see that for men. You don't see guys trying to doing these kinds of videos, right? Well, you should find me attractive because I am 200 pounds overweight. Those videos don't fly. As much as women want to talk about dad bods and everything, that's why I laugh when I see dad bods, because women have a far higher standard of physical beauty, idealized male physical beauty, than women will ever have when men will ever have for women. When it comes to men's ideal or women's idealized standard of male beauty, it's always that Greco-Roman look. It's always that, and I'm not saying he has to be like super yoked. He doesn't have to be Dorian Yates, right? He doesn't have to be Ronnie Coleman, where he doesn't have to be a bodybuilder guy on steroids, but he does have to have that kind of muscularity. He's got to have that kind of, I call it the water polo body, right? I mean, you got to be able to have that upper body strength. And you have to have some kind of look, like a swimmer's, at least a swimmer's physique. Those are the body types that sell calendars. That's the hot fireman calendar. No woman is buying the dad bod calendar, if there even is a dad bod calendar. So let's just call a spade right here, right now, because women are allowed to have that standard. because women will say, well, we've been repressed and we've been oppressed for so long that now we can do this. And it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So now we can be the ones who are fickle and shallow and have unrealistic standards of beauty for you guys. And now you have to love us anyways, because we're going to pretend that everything is a social construct. And the fact that you want to get with a hot girl, that means there's something wrong with you. Your evolved arousal response, your evolved sexual response as a guy is pathologized. It's pathologized not only psychologically, but sociologically. So if you find a particular type of woman attractive, and for men, it's usually that girl who looks like she's about 23 years old. She has to be younger, hotter, and tighter. That's what men tend to prefer. Now, there's a lot of variety in that, but men tend to select for youth and fertility. So it's big boobs, it's the hourglass body shape, it's the vocal intonations. In fact, it's the longer hair. It's whatever it is that is arousing to that guy. The problem now is that in a gynocentric social order, not only do we demonize that, but we try to gaslight men into believing that preference makes them misogynist. It makes that evolved natural arousal cues that heterosexual men have for heterosexual women. We demonize that, but it goes beyond that. We gaslight men into thinking that there's something wrong with them because of that. And you'll hear male feminists and guys they're not even men, they're the allies, right? They're the men who want to identify with the feminine. The first thing they will say is they will agree with this girl right here. And essentially, the reason why women are promoting this stuff, they're promoting body fat acceptance and everything else, is because it changes the game. It lowers the nets at the WNBA basketball court. It makes it into something that more women can compete at, because far more women today are overweight than they ever have been before. And they simply don't want to make the effort to be anything other than that. And that's why I got into a little bit of trouble not too long ago on my Instagram profile. I just a throwaway meme that I'd found. I've got this in one panel of the meme is this, semi-attractive girl in a bikini, and it's like, and then the opposite panel is a guy who's kind of ripped. He's got the V taper, he's got the jawline. He looks like he works out. It looks like he's like a male fitness model kind of guy. And then at the top of it, I wish I had brought this. I should have loaded this up. But at the top of it, the guy is, it says, these are the standards, what you have to do to achieve these beauty ideals. And I threw that out there because I'd seen this before. Like, you've got the woman who's semi-attractive, but really the effort and the energy that a woman has to put into to look that good really boils down to diet. I mean, certainly, run around, get some exercise, be healthy, but just don't eat like a pig. For men to achieve that ideal, it's much more effort and much more dedication, much more intense focus and effort into achieving that physical ideal. And we don't want to talk about those things. In fact, if I talk about those things, and this is how I got into trouble, right? Is I just threw that on there. It was just a throwaway meme. I just thought it was funny, and guys were saying, well, this sounds like you're saying men are victims. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that, all women can just look like this by not. I'm not saying that. You've still got to, eat right, but the standards are different, and people don't want to hear that. Because we're so accustomed to exactly what this girl is saying, what this wide-eyed, screwball kindergarten teacher is saying. And we want to believe that. We want to buy into that. And when it comes to men achieving mastery, that's one thing. I was just talking about that on Rule Zero, like I said, just yesterday. But what about women achieving mastery? What about women becoming, you have all these entitlements, ladies. Why is it that you are not pushing towards becoming more attractive, becoming more feminine, becoming the kind of woman that a high value man would want to get with in the first place? No high value guy, alpha, whatever you want to call it, is going to get with this ham beast. And I'm just, maybe that I'm being rude. Oh, you're being so rude to her. Oh, well, that's the fact. That's a fact. She is not the physical ideal of, I would say, at least 90% of guys. And the guys who actually would want to date her And that's really what this boils down to. It's this frustration that she can't find the guy that would actually find her attractive. And so she's trying to foist this on guys. She's trying to say, oh, well, it's a social convention. If you don't find, morbidly obese women attractive, well, that's the same as racism. That's the same as misogyny. That's the same as whatever. It's not about, liking pizza or, oh, you don't like pizza? Sorry. Hot centerfold girl. I'm out. Oh, hot, gorgeous penthouse pet of the year. Oh, sorry. You don't kayak. I guess I'm not going to be able to date you. Get out of here. Just take that shit home. That's not a preference. Okay. When men have preferences, and I'm not saying that there aren't guys that like fat chicks. There are. Okay. But those preferences are developed as a result of being sexually successful with that particular type of woman in the past. If you don't believe me, all you've got to do is go to Pornhub and just filter through all of the varieties and all of the niches of porn that there are available on Pornhub. Men like all kinds of women, ladies. You have a much higher, much more stringent, much more strict static ideal for male beauty than men will ever have for you. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do, like I said, is go through Pornhub, go check out what skinny girls, pale girls, tan girls, brunettes, blondes, redheads, midgets, this, that, whatever. You name it, and there is. So what is it? Rule 34, right? That if there's a niche, or there is an area of porn for everything. And that's pretty much the truth of it, because for men tend to develop fetishes. I still don't understand. For the life of me, I have no idea why guys find feet attractive. I don't get it. I just don't get that. Okay. When it comes to, I know the brothers like big booties, right? They like the ghetto booty, right? I'm not, that's not me. I'm not into that. To me, that looks unhealthy. That looks like too much overweight. The bigger the cushion, the better the pushing, right? But I do recognize that there are guys that are really into that. They really like that. Okay, fine. But the variety, like men happen to be opportunistic breeders when it comes to what they find attractive, what they find arousing, that they're, nobody's ugly after 2 a.m. Men do not have attraction floors. Women do, because only women are hypergamous. Now, when you live in a gynocentric social order, when you have more or less created the sense of a perception, anyways, of having accounted for the beta buck side of hypergamy for the most amount of women as possible through legislation, through social conventions, through family, whatever it is. When we say, well, women ought to be uplifted and they ought to be supported, and we need to make special dispensation and compensation for them. Sperm banks, got it. Abortion on demand, got it. Freezer eggs, got it. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that we ensure women that side of hypergamy for women. There are no insurances whatsoever for reproduction for men, and there never will be. Even in a patriarchal society, there wouldn't be. That's the burden of performance, gentlemen. Suck it up. So when I see something like this, when I see this woman trying to explain to me why it is that I should have a preference for fat girls, or in some cases, what we're hearing right now is if a person is trans, then you're still supposed to be attracted to them. You're still supposed to have something going for them, right? And the fact of the matter is guys don't want to get with another guy. Okay. That's simply just the way it is. That's not a preference. That is a biological reality. So again, it's not preferences, but if we can make people think that it is, what I've called the lie of individuation. And I wanted to get into that just briefly here before I get into the next video here. The lie of the fallacy of individuation is this: everyone is a special snowflake. There are no human natures. There is no human nature. There is no, everybody is special. Everybody is different. It's just this big chaotic mess. And no one knows what anybody else can be attracted to. No one can predict anybody's behavior. No, there are no human constants. It's just, everybody are these free radicals, right? And what happens when we think of it in those terms is it throws things certainly into chaos, but it also makes anything excusable and anything possible. So when I'm the last person who would buy into something like that. Okay. The lie of individuation, or the fallacy of individuation, is that personal, like your free will and your higher order way of thinking in some way negates your biological realities. In some way, it negates your actual evolved human nature. Now, do we have free will? Are we still responsible for our choices? Absolutely. But there are still constants. There are still generalities. And that's another thing that I get accused of all the time. Oh, you make sweeping generality. Well, that's what we work with the scientific method. That's what we have to work with. The exception proves the rule. Man bites dog is news. Dog bites man is not. So when I'm accused of making sweeping, you're so generalizing. Oh, Rollo. Yeah, because that's how we make a predictive framework. Is it always 100% perfect every time? No, of course not. Will people surprise you? Occasionally, yes. But people tend to be more predictable than not predictable. We tend to be really good at certain things. We have an actual human nature, and that nature may vary between men and women, depending on what we're talking about, of course. It's all contextual at that point. And yes, you're a unique individual. You're a special little snowflake. That's where that word comes from, by the way. Snowflake. Oh, you're this perfect little snowflake. There's no one on planet Earth just like you. We're told that from the time we're little teeny tiny 5-year-old kids, right? And it gets down to the point where we don't want to judge anybody as a result of, well, everybody's different, everybody's special. We have to accept everybody. We have to tolerate and accept everyone and their own little personal differences and their own little idiosyncrasies, because nobody's the same. No, there are generalizations, and there are aspects of human nature that are constant. One of those happens to be finding, thin, young, fertile, healthy women, symmetrical women attractive. Same thing for guys. Ladies, you get it too. That's fine. Go right ahead. You do it anyways. You want the hot fireman calendar? That one outsells the dad bod calendar. Why? Human nature. Not because you're some special little snowflake, not because you have some, you're unique in one. And I don't care what the subgenre is. I don't care if you're a goth girl. You still want the hot guy in the goth community, right? I don't care if you're gamer girl. I don't care if you're, tradcon girl at church in your Bible study. You still want the guy that is attractive and still has a lot going for him. Those are constants. There is a human nature. And when we cling to the blank slate and we cling to social constructionism, like solely to social constructionism, we do ourselves no favor in understanding human nature and understanding ourselves and understanding other people, and certainly women in this case. So I wanted to throw out the fallacy of the individuation fallacy right there, because too many people get hung up on that. It's very akin to what's called whataboutism, and there's actually a dynamic called whataboutism. Go look it up. It's on Google. Whataboutism. What about ISM? It's all one word. Look that up. It's a sociological, psychological thing. It's a logical fallacy. It's a debating. Well, what about? You can do that ad infinitum, ad absurdum, whatever you want to call it. So when we're talking about, yes, are people individuals? Yes. Are we still responsible for it? Yes. That doesn't preclude the fact that we have a human nature. That doesn't preclude that we have predictable aspects of ourselves, generalized aspects of ourselves that we can sort of take into consideration as men and women. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me to point it out in a gynocentric social order that is dependent on the blank slate, that is dependent upon social constructionism, then I become a heretic. Then I'm a cult leader. Then I'm a misogynist. Then something's wrong. What? Who hurt you? Who hurt you? I can't believe. I got to get a sound drop for who hurt you. So anyways, that's Fat Girl. Let's move on. We're going to remove her from the stream. And now I'm going to put Blonde Girl here, and we're going to shift gears a little bit here, but track with me on this one, because there's a reason I put these two girls together in the same show. You're about to find out why. Where'd you go, girly? There you are. Okay. All right. This is going to start. This is going to jump right in. So here we go.
Who I've decided is one of the worst type of guys to date. It is the good guy with potential. Because these guys will literally give you so many glimpses of who they can be and who they could be, but there is no guarantee that's actually who they will be. Not to mention when they literally do have good intentions, they have a good heart, they mean well. I think it's really hard for us to wrap our heads around the fact that someone who has a good heart, who's a good person, who might even be a good friend, can yet actually still be a shitty partner. Good guy.
Okay, so I want to stop it here just really briefly because I'm going to come back to this. There we are. I had to stop it right here because this is the voice of the epiphany phase. This is, you'd be so good. You'd be so perfect if you were just my ideal, right? It's the same thing as fat girl. So I don't know who, I'm just going to call her fat girl. It's the same thing as her. She's saying pretty much the same thing is I need the game to change to fit my needs at this particular time. One of the reasons why I wrote Preventive Medicine is so you would be able to pick up on this kind of language and to be able to pick up on what it is that women are prioritizing at this particular stage of their maturity. And so she's very full of herself. And I'll tell you what's interesting to me is whenever, and I've done this before, I've got other videos about this. I think it was the girl who was talking about like finding the right guy. And she looked like she was 31, 32. I did this about like 2 or 3 months ago. But damn near every one of these girls, there is a sense of hubristic entitlement. Certainly with Tommy Lahren. When I did the Tommy Lahren video, same thing. Guys, you aren't living right. You aren't what I need when I need you. That's what this is. So you got the woman, this is the voice of the post-party years, post-hoe phase frustration. The conundrum, let's just say, of not being able to find the right guy. So now it's not just about finding the guy who's the hot, fun guy in the foam cannon party. There's your reference. But it's also about finding the good guy with potential. Now, I have to point this out here before I continue. I'm about halfway through her video. It's only a 1-minute video even. But I got to point this out right now because Rich Cooper has been, he's on record as saying this, is that women don't care about your struggles. They only wait at the finish line and they bang the winners. And I do agree with that. However, I mean, that is the idealized situation for women. For most women, they don't get that ideal. The fat girl certainly doesn't get that ideal. She wants men to play her game so that she can play it better. Not improve herself, not lose weight, not actually do something. I try to cater or to build herself or to do something so she would be more attractive, so that she would be like a guy would say, hey, look, you look good. I'll get with you. That kind of stuff. It's not about pizza. It's not about kayaking. Okay. I doubt she does much kayaking. Let's just say that. But instead of trying to master the game, you want to change the game to suit your skill set. And that's what she's complaining about right here. They're not who I want them to be when I want them to be there. Now, most women, as she is figuring out right now, she doesn't look, it doesn't look bad. I'm going to say she's like a 7.5, maybe an 8. Depends on how she looks. I can't see her whole body, so I can't make an accurate assessment. On the Tomasi scale, I would hire her as a poor girl for sure. Now, everybody's going to go, oh, man, she's a 6 at best. I'm too cool. I would never approach her. Whatever, dude. Okay. Fact of the matter is she looks certainly better than the girl that preceded her here. But so she's frustrated here now because life isn't going the way that she wanted. I can't find the economically attractive guy. I can't find the guy who's a good partner. I can't find the guy who's still hot that I couldn't lock down in my hoe phase. But now I'm having to sort of apply myself towards guys who are the good guys. But those guys, they don't seem to want to man up, right? They want to be Peter Pans. That's what she says right here. They want to be kidults. Remember that from way back in 2012. There was an Atlantic article. I think it was by Hannah Rosen. It was called The End of Men. And it was bemoaning the fact that men were kidults. They wanted to extend or prolong their adolescence. And we only say that about men. We don't say that about women. When a woman is single and childless at 31, 32, we don't go, oh, you're a kidult and you're trying to prolong your adolescence, honey. We don't say that. We say, oh, she's focusing on her career. Oh, she hasn't found the right guy yet, because it's the men's fault for not like being what she wants them to be right then and there when she needs them to be that. We'll make any number of rationalizations, particularly in a gynocentric social order. In prior eras and prior generations, she'd already be a spinster. She would already be, I won't say an old maid. She'd probably still be able to find a guy. I mean, she still seemed semi-attractive. But when we're talking about being in the right place at the right time, being the guy that she wants right then and there, being the ideal lover, the ideal hot guy, the ideal good dad as well, the whole package. When she can't find that and she feels that she's entitled to that, then it's your fault. Then it's Guy's fault for not living up and for not being that. So what happens? We change the game to fit the player rather than change the player to be better at the game. And that's what she's kind of bemoaning right here. So let's keep going.
Guys with potential often get stuck in that Peter Pan type syndrome. And I think it's because we see that they mean well, so we don't actually require them to do better. I know personally that's where I've made mistakes in the past with those types of guys. Because the sad reality is that they may never grow into their potential. And you can wait years to find out that they never will come into it. I think it's beautiful if you can find a man like this and grow into his potential with him. Just be mindful, you got to date someone for their reality and not their potential.
Right. Okay. So that's the potential side of things. Now, let me rewind a little bit. When I was talking about Rich Cooper and the struggle, a woman doesn't care about your struggle. She wants to just wait at the finish line and bang the winners. True. If a woman could find that, if a woman could change the game so that would always happen, if women could find a turnkey relationship with a guy, they would absolutely do that. That would be great. Most women can't. Even this woman can't. She's frustrated and talking about this on her cell phone to the ether, right? Just going on TikTok to tell everybody, she's looking for attention. Yes. She's looking for validation. Yes. Is she looking for affirmation? Yes. Okay. Got that out of the way. But what's the salient point of her salient point here? Why is this even a thing? Why go on TikTok at all? Well, she can't find the guy who is turnkey. She can't find the winner. She can't tell who's going to be the one who crosses the finish line. Doesn't care about the struggle, doesn't care about the ambition, doesn't care about the passion so much as the potential and having assurances of that potential. Because what happens is for women, and I'll throw this up here just once again, is between the ages of say 23 and about 30 years old, maybe let's just back it up. Let's go 18 to 28. That is when women are going to be at their peak of sexual selectivity, as I've said before. But that's a very short window when you look at a woman's total. Let's go look at this timeline again. You look at from 15 to 70 right there. Let's just say average age of a woman is like 90 years old. We're only talking 10 years when that woman has peak agency. And that's why it is so imperative. And I mentioned this in the Alpha Widows / War Brides video. That's why there is such a sense of urgency. That's why this woman is making a TikTok video right now, because she's frustrated and she cannot find the guy with good potential. She wants the guy who's already made. She wants the guy who's already the winner. And she's not finding that guy. And more women are not finding that guy, because more and more women, when their standards are as high as they are, courtesy of, we're more aware of this now, courtesy of like Kevin Samuels and Fresh and Fit and God knows how many other podcasts are using that formula. But the end result of that whole thing is that we're more aware of this sort of hubristic entitlement to this high value guy, the winners, the guys who've already crossed the finish line that women are supposed to be waiting at to bang those guys, to be involved. Okay, here you are. You won the prize. You made partner in the law team. You're a surgeon. You're whatever you are. You've actually paid your dues. You put in your effort. You mastered the game. And here I am waiting for you. Here I am. Come and get me. And when she's 33, 34, 36, whatever years old, those guys don't want to have anything to do with you. They want the girl who's younger, hotter, tighter at 23 years old, who's not fat either, because now they are in the position of sexual selectivity and you are not. But what happens is between 18 and 28, women get frustrated with that. That's why you get the epiphany phase. That's why you get that urgency. That's why you get this sort of consternation amongst women, particularly when they're already past that age. When women are like 32, 33, 34, they become very, very bitter and very, very vindictive, because on some level of consciousness, I think, unless they're really super oblivious, and a lot of them are, but on some level of consciousness, they realize that they can't compete at the same level as they at 33 that they did when they were 23. So the guy that's supposed to be crossing the winner's line that Rich was saying, bang the winners, those winners don't want to have anything to do with those guys. When those women are 24, 25, 26, 27 years old, they're looking for the guy who is, they want a sure thing. They want the sure bet. They want the guy, because women can't afford to blow their hypergamous agency during that time. And that's what she even says that here. It's like, it's a waste of time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Blah, 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 blah. It could take years to figure that out. Yeah, it could. And you know what? You might make a bad bet, ladies. You might get involved with a guy who you think he's going to make partner in the law. He's going to make something of himself. He's going to build himself into something more. And the reason why women get frustrated about not being able to see that guy's potential is because they have no clue what to look for. They're just looking for the guy who's already made. They're not looking for the signs of the guy that's going to be the guy that's already made. And they expect that guy to be the same dude at 25 as he will be when he's 35, 36, when he's at the top of his game, when he is hitting his stride, when he is mastering the game. Instead, women want to say, let's make the game fit our needs. Let's make the mating market, let's make the sexual marketplace work for us. How do we do that? Well, we got to make men think that they ought to be doing all of this great stuff for us. We don't want them to be kidults. We don't want them to be Peter Pans anymore. We want you to have really good potential. The problem is those guys who are focusing on their mission, who are focusing on that potential, they're not the guys you want to bang in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. So again, ladies, if you want to have your cake and eat it too, if you want to have your hoe phase, if you want to have your party years, well, I far be it from me to begrudge you of having your fun, but that comes with a product, that comes with a result, that comes with consequences. And those consequences are the guys that you need for a long-term, like you want to have some kind of long-term relationship with those dudes. Unless you're able to lock down hot dude in the foam cannon party, which is very, very few and very far between, you're probably not going to hook up, or you're not going to lock down the guy who's going to be satisfying as your lover and your alpha seed and your beta need. That's going to be really tough. And that's why women are getting on these shows, and they're getting, lambasted by God knows how many different podcast hosts on whatever formulaic thing. And again, I'm not coming. It sounds like he's hating. I'm not hating. I'm just saying that's why it's popular. Holding women accountable. Yeah, of course it is. Because at 23, you didn't know any better, and you're looking for that potential, and you don't even know what to really look for. And so now when you get to be 28, just like Tomi Lahren, this chick right here, I would not be surprised if she was 28, if she was exactly the same age as Tomi Lahren, because I hear the same arguments that Tomi Lahren made in that one video that I did the breakdown of back in August or September of last year. It's the same arguments. We need a guy who's got potential. We need the winners to show us the formula, guys, of who's going to win and who's going to lose. No, that's up to you. You have to be a better player of the game, ladies. It's not going to, we're not going to lower the nets for you. We couldn't do it if we wanted to, because we're competing with men are competitive. We have a burden of performance, and we're competitive. We have dominance hierarchies. We have competence hierarchies. It's up to you to figure that out. And if you wasted your time on the wrong guy, oh well. And I think it's what's fascinating to me is that even if that's the case, even if that woman says, okay, well, this guy's good enough, I guess I'll get with him. I won't take his last name. I mean, maybe we'll have some kids, or maybe he'll be, I'm a single mom, so maybe he'll want to father the kids of the alpha that I banged in, my college years. But I guess I'll get with him. He's Mr. Good Enough. And what we've done societally in a gynocentric social order is we've created fail safes for women. Abortion, of course, is one of those. You just simply abort the child if you don't want to get involved with that guy. Or there is more or less legalized cuckoldry right now, proactive or reactive. And then, of course, the other thing is that the divorce legislation, child support, and everything else that has been going on since the late 60s and the early 70s up to now, all works in women's favor. So there's fail safes. Even if you made the bad choice, you could still say, you know what, I can have an abortion. You know what, doesn't matter. I'll just divorce him, and I'll take his money, and I'll do eat, pray, love. Cash and prizes, as Dalrock used to say. I'll take cash and prizes, and that'll be good enough for me. And I got to do it before I am 40, because then I'll still be hot and spicy, and I can go out and get on Tinder and do whatever. And we see these chicks all the time. I see him there. Not a day goes by that I don't look at Rich Cooper's Twitter feed and see some girl who's like 40 years old and has 6 kids in tow. And it's like, if you don't want to get serious, then just swipe left or whatever, right, or whatever it is. Okay, I will. And again, you want to know why Morgan Stanley has done that research for what is it, Rise of the She Economy, and women between the ages of 25 and like 44, I think is what it is, the prime working age women in 2030. Was it 50? Something like 52, 50, or right around 50% of women will be single and childless as a result, if we keep going the way that we're going. In fact, we're so readily going that way, we're so predictably going that way that Morgan Stanley will put out research for investors, because it's like, guys, here's what the future holds, and invest in cat toys and boxed wine and reruns of Sex and the City. I don't know, whatever it is, rom-coms, right? 50 Shades of Grey. Invest in that, because that's the future that's coming our way. Why is that? Well, because women are so disillusioned with the sexual marketplace and so in need of this convenience that they believe that a gynocentric social order should provide for them, that they think, well, guys, we need you to be who we need you to be when we need you to be that person. And again, that is lowering the nets at the WNBA. That is changing the game, or an attempt to change the game to fit the needs and to fit the skills of that particular player. So yeah, when that woman says, oh, you're wasting time. Absolutely, you are wasting time, because you need the guy who's like the turnkey guy. You want to know why women prefer men? Statistically, women prefer men for long-term relationships anywhere between 3 to 7 years older, is because they understand inherently, instinctively, that it takes longer for a guy to mature into, adulthood, to mature into having the most of what they need when they need it, being the most attractive. When I threw this one out there, when I put this up there, a lot of guys kept saying, the first criticism I got way back in the day was, I don't see 23-year-old women getting with 36-year-old guys. Yeah, that's because that's not what that means. These two bell curves are mutually exclusive. I only put them over one another so that you can see like the relative, decay and ascent of sexual market value. It's not that I'm saying, oh, the 23-year-old girl should ideally want to get with the guy who's 37 years old. I mean, great if you can, but I don't see that happening. And statistically, that doesn't happen. But when that guy is at his peak potential, when he's hitting his stride, when he gets to be 36, 38, some guys want to say it's even later. When you hit that time, that's when you're at your peak sexual selectivity, sexual market value. Not just because, oh, you're still in good shape or whatever. It's not just a physical thing for guys. It's also having the qualities and the characteristics, the traits, the achievements, the background, the history of having put yourself out there and mastering it and becoming better at playing the game better, mastering the game instead of trying, oh, please make the game work for me, right? Those guys, when they get to that point, they have at that, if you've maximized your potential, and that's why I called this preference and potential today. If men maximize their potential and they get to that point, that's when they have the most of what women need the most when they need it the most. So when this girl gets to be 29, 30, 31 years old, the guy who the guy who's already crossed the finish line, as Rich Cooper says, that guy who had potential that she couldn't see when he was 25, now he's 35, now he's 36, somewhere around there, and he has actually done something with himself and he's built himself up. Now he's the apex guy that they want to get with, and they hate it that they can't get with that guy, because they didn't see that guy. They didn't know when to put money on, Mr. Crypto, right? They didn't know that he was going to appreciate in value. And they're like, screw that. I'm going to go with the hot guy on the phone cannon party. I'm going to get with him. And then not being able to see what that guy's real potential is. So women like this can complain all day long about, the guys the good guys, the guys who really want to be there, they can never really mature into what we want them to be. Yeah, that's true. But you couldn't see it if you wanted to. You wouldn't be able to discern that in the first place because you're too focused on one side of hypergamy or the other. You're too focused on the trees and not the forest, ladies. And I didn't mean this to be like sort of like a ladies version of the rational male. That's not what I set out to do here. I want to put this one up because this was a really good, somebody sent this to me. This was from an exchange that he got, I guess. And it's the girl says, I only friend zoned you because you're too perfect. And the guy's like, that makes no sense, because the guy is trying to use reason in this. And of course she says this, you'd make a better husband than boyfriend. And I want to keep you around until the time was right. If we ever dated and broke up, I'd hate to lose you forever. All girls keep the good ones around until the time is right. That is very revealing, because there are romantic comedies that are built around that. I was, again, yesterday I was on Rule Zero, and we were talking about Friends, like the new Friends reunion thing. And I was talking about the I want to save you for later. Can you wait for me? I even have some, I think I've got like 2 essays about, like, I think they were called That Was Then, This Is Now. And in that essay, I talk about the funny joke, like, which is straight out of an episode of Friends, which is, wait for me, Ross. I know you're such a perfect guy, but you're not perfect for me now. I'm 22. I want to go out and bang the guy in Cancun on spring break. But I'll tell you what, if we're both single at 30, then I promise we'll get married. How effed up is that? And we go, ha ha, and the laugh track plays. Ha 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 ha. And in the 90s, we didn't have a red pill lens, and we're like, ha 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 ha, and we laugh along too, until we go, wait a minute, that's kind of messed up. Because when that woman is in her peak sexual market value years, between say 22 and maybe 18 and 28, somewhere around there. Yeah, of course she's getting run through. Of course she's exploring. Of course she's getting with the, she's on her journey of self-discovery. And now that she's 30 and she needs you, and you suddenly have all of the things that are the most of what she needs when she needs it. Yeah, I'm sure. Wouldn't it be great if I could just put you in cryogenic freeze? And then suddenly you're 30 years old, and now you're a great guy. And you know what? I'm done with the hot alphas. I'm done with those guys. I'm done with the foam cannon party. I want to get serious. I've had my fun. No fun for you. If you don't want to get serious, then swipe right. What the girls that are saying that, by the way, on Twitter, the ones that get to be like 29, 30, 31 years old, and they're saying, oh, I've had my fun. It's time to get serious. If you're not getting serious, then you can swipe left or right, whatever the hell it is. I don't even know. When you read that, that's Rachel telling Ross, wait for me until you're 30 and then we'll get married. That's exactly. And if you're stupid enough to be Ross, you get what you deserve. And absolutely you get what you deserve. So don't fall for it. You've got to be red pill aware. You've got to be enlightened, right? You've got to have the revelation to understand the game that you're playing in if you want to master it. Otherwise, you're going to be at a disadvantage. You'll always be at a disadvantage. I don't want to play the game. Okay, then you're non-competitive and then you're out of the game. Fine. If that's what you want to do, be my guest. If you want to participate in your own extinction, be my guest. Please do. Because that's one less person that I have to unplug. Yeah, I can move on. It's like triage, like I said, save the ones you can and read Last Rites to the Dying. If you're the dying, then exit stage right. And you're good to go. Here's the last one I wanted to throw up here really quick too. This is sort of along the same lines. I got a boyfriend for my birthday. Best present ever. Other guy. So the new guy privy to all of your past swinging activities, or is that for a future conversation? He is. He's not into it himself, but he doesn't have any issue with that being in my past. I'm ready to be done with my wild woman phase and settle down a bit. The casual sex was getting old, and I'm ready for something more meaningful. So I'm jumping on the monogamy train. Exactly what I've been saying. Those are the voices of the epiphany phase. Both of these girls, like both of these girls, that's the voice. They're both the voice of the epiphany phase. The world should change to accommodate my skills. I'm in a tough spot. I am anxious. I am urgent. I have anxiety as a result of not being able to find the right guy, or the right guy won't fall in love with me. The right guy, the hot guy that I want to get with, he has a preference, a social, societal, fiendish patriarchy has, trained him not to find overweight women such as myself with wild eyes and talks like a, preschool teacher. You don't find me attractive. I can't imagine why. But that's where that comes from, that angst, that urgency. That's why when I threw this out there, this is from my second book, which is the timeline that is in preventive medicine. Again, this is sort of like a corollary, I guess, to this to that. So this is the corollary. And so when women get through that party years and they get right to about the 26, 27, 28 years old and they get into the epiphany phase, there is a lot of angst in that phase. And Tommy Lahren, voice of the epiphany phase. This girl right here, voice of the epiphany phase. That girl who I did a video of her. I did a breakdown video of her about 2 or 3 months ago. Again, wild-eyed, right? You know, she's complaining that she can't find, like, guys just need to be who I want them to be when I want them to be there. That is lowering the nets. That is changing the game so that in the hopes that it's going to accommodate your ability to play it. That is no way to live your life. That's a life built on hope, by the way. And that's a life built on the presumption that the gynocentric social order is going to in some way come up with some social convention or legislation or whatever that's going to make hot alpha guys, the top 20% of guys, suddenly fall in love with fat women with wild eyes. And they should. And if they don't, then there's something wrong with them. If we can't gaslight that, we got to gaslight those guys. If they can't be who I want them to be when I want them to be there, then we've got to teach generation after generation. All my sons are going to think this. Now, I get this all the time. Guys will say, Rollo, how is it logical? How is it logical? How is it logical that mothers would raise their kids as beta males? Because they're trying to raise those kids into what they thought their ideal was going to be at that particular time. So imagine either one of these women at the ages that they're at, with those same frustrations that they have right there, raising a boy who's already raised in a gynocentric social order. All 77% of his teachers are going to be female. Everybody says you're bad. You're bad for being male, Johnny. You have that over and over and over again. Yeah, you're going to raise another generation of pathetic, beta male boys who defective girls who grow into defective women. They're men who became defective women. And then they're going to be the same guys that these girls are going to complain about. The next generation of these girls are going to complain about 10, 20 years from now. And the cycle repeats itself. So there you have it. That's today's lesson, my friends. I try to keep this at about an hour. So there we go. If you have any questions about this today, I will monitor the content here. Excuse me, the comments here. And this is going to be a premiere, so you guys can talk about this. I will do my best to I guess, I hate to think that I would be lurking on my own premiere, but I guess I kind of have to. I'm going to be busy recording, doing the mix down and doing just all the bells and whistles for the next 4-song EP that my band's doing. And so that's why I'm not doing a live show today, in case you didn't catch this in the beginning. But I will be back. Then the other announcement is again, I will have another 30 minutes, possibly longer video coming up midweek once again. But next week, I will be flying out to Miami. I will be participating in George Gammon's, Rebel Capitalist? I think that's what he's calling it, the Rebel Capitalist Conference. I will be there with him. I will be there. Robert Kiyosaki will be there. John from Model Life Dating will be joining me out there. I think even Paul Benjamin said he was going to be coming out there as well. I'll be hooking up with, well, not actually hooking up, but I will be, I'll be hanging out with Sterling Cooper while I'm there as well. So you could just check my Twitter feed, check my Instagram for videos and such. I will be on Fresh and Fit later on in that week. It will be the week of the 11th through the 18th. So that weekend I will be at the conference. I'm not actually speaking at the conference. I'm just kind of going around the conference. I'll probably be signing books. I'll be hanging out with a lot of people. George just was nice enough to invite me out there and fly me out there. So I'm just going to go out there and just hang out with the guys. Again, this is something that's sort of out of my sphere, but I'm aware that a lot of guys like what I have to say and they're fans of my book. So I decided I'd go out there. Again, I'll be on Fresh and Fit. Maybe we'll do something with Kiki Clout. I'm hoping we could do something with Kiki Clout. And I think we're going to have a good time. I wanted to throw this out there as well, is John from Model Life Dating is going to be doing a hot dude con or a get together, a meetup of some kind in Miami that weekend, or maybe even that extended into that week. I will be participating in that as well. So if you happen to be in Miami in another 2 weeks, I will be there. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick so that people can make plans if you want to. Finally, we're coming out of lockdown. And last but not least, yes, we are looking at doing a conference in Vegas, a Rule Zero live conference in Vegas. It will probably, I think it's going to be Vegas. It's a possibility we might move it to Lake Tahoe. I don't know. We want to have like a really good high end kind of conference thing where we just sort of spare no expense and we have a really good, we'll probably limit the attendance of course as well. But we really want to create a really good sort of, I don't know, top shelf event of some kind. So we're in the talks right now. Again, we can't really do anything. We can't really schedule anything just yet because again, Ryan and Rich are in Canada. They're still in lockdown, but the talks are happening and we are planning on doing that as well. So that is coming up. And then last but not least, yes, my fourth book, Religion, the audiobook is coming in June, come hell or high water. Sam assures me that it will be done by June 1st. We'll find some way to make it work. So the audible version of Religion is on the way. I just want to reassure you guys that that's still in the works right now. So there you have it. And again, if you have any questions, if you'd like to talk about this, please leave them in the comments here. Support the show. Again, if you want to leave super chats, that's great because it's a premiere. But the best way to support my work is through Patreon, is through PayPal, through I take crypto as well. You can find all of that stuff in the descriptions, in the description of the video. And then last but not least, this was also going to be available as an Anchor podcast. So if you just want to download the audio, go on Anchor, search for Rollo Tomassi Rational Male. You'll find my page on Anchor, and you can get it on Spotify. You can get it on iTunes. You can get all the standard places you can get audio from. You can now get it through Anchor right now. And so as long as it's like say about an hour or so, that makes a pretty good audio podcast. So I am uploading straight audio to Anchor right now. If you download, please consider at the very least getting like the $5 membership for that. So you can, it does take some work to do this. So much appreciated. Hit the subscribe button. Also, by the way, hit the subscribe button. I'm only 5,000 away, just actually under 5,000 now, away from 100,000 subs. And people ask me, well, how come you're not already at 100,000? Well, because I don't buy subs. And I don't buy comments and I don't buy views. I've been doing this organically. And this is just something that I do because I want engagement with you. This is not like it's nice to have the gravy money. Yes. But I do this because I want to have engagement with my audience when they're reading and we're talking, we're discussing ideas. That's the most important part of this. So the most important part of this is you. So there you have it. Let me know what you thought about this one today. Okay. Thanks a lot. And I will see you guys on Wednesday of next week. Bye-bye.